I think there's something Midwestern about it too. I don't know, maybe I shouldn't be claiming it like that, but. The next speaker is Peggy, and the title of her speech is The Old Man Went Rogue. Peggy?
The old man went rogue. That was the only conclusion my colleagues and I could come to as we sat in the break room watching CNN report on the Republican convention. Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and distinguished guests, did you have the opportunity to watch the fourth and final night of the Republican convention? Yes. And does anyone know who I'm referring to as the old man?
Oh, Clint Eastwood.
Clint Eastwood. Oh. Now, I always watched the political conventions, and before I was a Toastmaster, I would watch it because I was interested in what the parties and the candidates had to say. But I'm a Toastmaster now, and I know some stuff. And so not only was I looking to hear what they had to say, but how were they saying it? Were they engaging me? And if so, how? And so I tuned in on the night the Republican candidate, Mitt Romney, was to speak. And that's when I saw him, Clint Eastwood. The New York Times reported the following day that Clint Eastwood was the Republican Party's surprise speaker, and that he was going to have the first primetime slot of that evening. That meant he was going to speak to over 30 million people. It was also reported that the Romney advisors so trusted Mr. Eastwood that he was not required to submit a speech or even participate in a rehearsal. Oh. So the moment I saw Clint Eastwood on the podium, I was engaged. I am a huge fan of Clint Eastwood's. Are you?
Yes.
Who can remember the spaghetti westerns? And what about the good, the bad, and the ugly? One of my favorites. And we can't forget Dirty Harry. Who remembers the most popular line in Dirty Harry?
Make my day.
Go ahead, make my day. So I grew up watching Clint Eastwood and his movies. And so I was not only engaged, I knew I was going to like everything he had to say. And so at this point, I thought the Romney advisors were right on. So as he stood before his audience, I saw it, and it was oddly out of place. There was a chair on the stage. Did you see it? And I have to admit, when I first saw Clint Eastwood, he looked old. And then I see the chair on the stage, and I knew, the poor thing, he's so old, he might not be able to stand for his whole speech. But I found out after that that was not the case for the chair. The next day, my colleague and I, Mike, he and I shared an office together, were talking about Clint Eastwood. He said that when he was watching Clint Eastwood's speech, it was painful. And I found that very interesting because I did not experience that. Actually, I couldn't take my eyes off of Clint Eastwood. Remember, I tuned in to learn, and I was learning. I was learning on how not to give a speech. So as Clint began to give his speech, it was clear, and it didn't take me very long to determine that he was unprepared for his speech. political speech is to persuade, and he was definitely missing that mark. He also didn't have a clear beginning, middle, or ending to his speech, and so it appeared that he was rambling, and he was always searching for a word. He said a lot. And so as a Toastmaster, I counted those for him. And during his 12-minute speech, he said the word 75 times.
Oh.
And let's talk about his 12-minute speech. He was slaughtered for 5 minutes. And so by him speaking over his time, he delayed the most important speech of that night, and that was of the presidential candidate, Mitt Romney. And let's talk about that chair, the empty chair. He was using that in his speech to pretend he was talking to an invisible President Obama. And the only thing that did for his speech was to secure him a skit on Saturday Night Live. Have you seen it? If you haven't, Google it. It's called Eastwood and Cher, and it is hysterical. Clint Eastwood is an accomplished actor, director, producer, composer, and yes, politician. You may remember that he was the mayor of Carmel, California in the 80s. And so you may ask, what happened? And I think I know. The old man, he went rogue.
Oh.